Good morning, smart professionals. Today is Sunday, August 31st, 2025. Welcome to your daily news update on Blip Brief. Small, but almost everything updated daily. Now, the markets are paused for the weekend, of course, but wow, there's been a whirlwind of news from Friday's close and last day or two. We're talking India's economic sprint, global power plays, some mind-bending tech. We'll cut through the noise for you. Okay, let's kick things off with India's economy. Truly eye-popping news. Q1 GDP growth. It absolutely stunned analysts, hit a five-quarter high, 7.8%, blew past all the estimates. That's a really robust number, wouldn't you say? Especially
Yeah.
given the global picture.
Oh, absolutely. It's a headline grabber, no doubt. What's really fascinating, though, is how strong it is despite, well, significant external pressures. We're talking about those looming 50% U.S. tariffs on Indian goods, right? But, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Financial Express actually points out some, startling contradictions within that strong GDP number.
The contradictions. Yeah, tell me more. Like what?
Well, things like perhaps growth isn't uniform across all sectors. Or maybe, per capita consumption isn't quite keeping pace with that headline figure. It raises questions about how evenly this growth is being felt. And that kind of nuance, it helps explain why the chief economic advisor is still pegging FY26 growth at a more conservative 6.3 to 6.8%. They're clearly factoring in those tariff headwinds for the longer term.
Right. That's a crucial distinction, the headline versus the, let's say, underlying reality. And speaking of tariffs, this is where it gets really interesting geopolitically speaking. The New York Times is suggesting these Trump administration tariffs might be linked to PM Modi refusing a Nobel nomination in the past. Now, that's quite a theory. What's the connection there?
It's definitely provocative. The idea isn't so much a direct tit-for-tat like refusal caused tariffs. It's more subtle. Maybe the perceived slight, rejecting Western recognition, perhaps fed to a broader protectionist sentiment, a desire to challenge old alliances.
So less about economics, more about a reevaluation of relationships.
Possibly. That's the narrative being suggested anyway. But regardless of the why, India isn't just sitting idle. The government's formulating plans short, medium, long term to backstop exporters.
Yeah, like what kind of plans?
Things like easing the rules for special economic zones, the SEZs, making it simpler to operate there, providing liquidity relief, so helping with cash flow, and building more resilient supply chains, which, leads to that question. Is the U.S., as one economist put it, kind of shooting itself in the foot?
Right.
Because these tariffs are having an impact. Export credit growth has cooled already, down to 4.7%. You push too hard, you risk India looking elsewhere.
A calculated risk then, perhaps? But despite these immediate hurdles, India's long-term ambitions seem, undimmed. RBI Governor Malhotra is sounding very confident, saying India is poised to become the world's third largest economy soon. And it looks like they're making some pretty smart strategic moves to lock that in.
Absolutely. They're actively strengthening ties for critical minerals.
Yeah.
Essential stuff, right? Electronics, green energy. And it's not just the usual suspects. Yes, Africa, as Piyush Goyal mentioned, but also a big new pact with Japan. Collaboration on exploration, processing, refining, the whole chain.
Japan. That's significant.
Very. And Japan's pledge, get this, 10 trillion yen, about $67 billion in investment over the next decade. These are crucial moves for future-proofing key sectors. Think electronics manufacturing already employs, 2.5 million people? It's about resource security, industrial strength.
Okay, from those big economic plans, let's quickly pivot to the markets. How did things wrap up on Friday? Sounded like a bit of a corrective phase. Nifty 50, BSE Sensex both dipped around 0.3%.
Yeah, that's right. And overall, it was a holiday-shortened week, remember? So the benchmark indices actually closed about 1.8% lower for the week, mostly on those U.S. tariff worries we were just discussing.
So within that cautious mood on Friday, were there any standout movements, anything surprising?
Well, surprising it might be strong, but there was notable activity, yeah. On the upside, ITC gained over 2%. Hard Electronics, Shriram Finance, both up around 1.5%. Asian Paints, L&T, also gained over 1%.
Okay, so what does that tell us? Defensive moves, company news.
Could be a mix. Defensive plays are common when uncertainty is high, or maybe some investors are anticipating good results from these specific names. On the flip side, Mahindra and Mahindra fell nearly 3%. Reliance, Infosys also saw dips over 2% each. Apollo Hospitals and TPC were down too.
M&M, consumer demand worries, Infosys, profit-taking.
Plausible theories, yeah. M&M for auto demand, Infosys maybe after recent gains. It's a mixed bag, really. Shows how specific sectors and stocks react, even when the overall sentiment is cautious.
Definitely shows the nuance. And looking ahead, for anyone managing their portfolio, several big names are going ex-dividend next week. We've got ONGC, Clay& Jewelers, NTPC, Deepak Fertilizers, Prestige Estates, so keep an eye on those dates if dividends are important to you. Speaking of companies, let's get into some major corporate news.
Right, well, the Q1 results for the big banks, SBI and HDFC Bank, they're still being digested. Analysts are busy comparing asset quality growth trajectories, trying to see who's currently ahead.
Always a key battleground. What else?
Energy sector is seeing massive investment, huge commitments. Adani Power developing an 800 milliW thermal plant in MP. That's a 10,500 crore project. Then Torrent Power secured an LOA, a letter of allotment for an even bigger plant. 1,600 milliW coal-based, worth 22,000 crore.
Wow, those are enormous figures. Coal's still getting significant investment then.
It seems so, alongside renewables.
Yeah.
Then you have ONGC planning 66,000 crore in projects aiming to double its reserves by 2032. Ambitious. And maybe most strategically, Reliance Industries is pouring 75,000 crore into green energy, aiming for 20 gigawatt of solar module capacity by 2026. That's a huge statement, right? A real push for energy self-reliance and leadership in renewables.
Staggering numbers all around. Really paints a picture of major capital deployment. And in the EV space, Ather Energy just unveiled something new.
Yeah, a new EL platform and tech upgrades. It's their first major vehicle architecture revamp since the original Ather 450. So not just a minor update, it's a big step for their core design, promising better performance, better user experience, could definitely shake up the premium electric scooter market.
Interesting. And the IPO market seems lively too.
Oh, buzzing. LEEP India filed for a 2,400 crore IPO. Several SME issues are opening next week. And maybe the biggest news, Grow got the nod from SEBI for its IPO. Looking at $700 million to $1 billion. So yeah, investor appetite for new listings seems strong.
Okay, let's zoom out from the corporate world to the global stage. Because often, these company fortunes reflect bigger geopolitical shifts, don't they? The last 24 hours seem packed with high-stakes diplomacy. And some pretty unsettling headlines, too. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO Summit in Tianjin, China, that's really taking center stage. Modi, Xi, Putin all together.
Indeed. And that gathering itself is a powerful signal. All about evolving alliances. You've got Putin actively pushing for a stronger BRICS bloc, explicitly to counter Western economic influence, aiming for a multipolar world.
Right.
The UN Secretary General was there too, emphasizing China's role in multilateralism. And for PM Modi, it's his first China visit in 7 years. Discussions expected on trade, rare earths, counterterrorism, key stuff for trying to mend those strained ties.
And amidst all that, Modi also spoke with Zelensky.
He did. A phone call reiterating India's support for a peaceful settlement in Ukraine. It really highlights India's delicate balancing act on the world stage, trying to maintain dialogues everywhere.
Beyond the summits, though, other flashpoints are demanding attention. We saw a really tragic development in Yemen.
That's right. Reports of an Israeli airstrike on Sana'a hitting the Houthi-run government killed the prime minister, several ministers apparently. The Houthis have vowed retaliation. This significantly escalates tensions in a region that's already, well, incredibly fragile.
Raises serious questions about stability, shipping lanes, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. And the immediate worry is a potential cycle of retribution.
Okay, switching gears to the U.S., some significant political moves happening there too, and domestic battles brewing. I saw the White House is considering rebranding the Department of Defense as the Department of War. That alone says something.
It certainly carries symbolic weight, yeah. And on the legal front, quite a bit happening. A U.S. appeals court just ruled most of Donald Trump's tariffs illegal. Controversial decision. Likely sets up a Supreme Court fight.
Huge implications there for trade policy, presidential power.
Exactly. And domestically, you've got Chicago's mayor refusing to help federal troops with an immigration crackdown, calling it tyranny. Right. Highlights those deep federal-state divides. Plus, Trump himself announced plans for an executive order mandating voter ID for every vote and putting strict limits on mail-in voting.
That's going to cause sparks.
Oh, undoubtedly. Proponents will say election integrity, critics will scream voter disenfranchisement, expect major legal and social debate on that one.
And globally, the economic picture still has its own concerns, right?
Yeah.
How is China doing beyond the diplomatic stage?
Well, their manufacturing activity actually shrank again in August. That's the 5th month in a row, despite that new trade truce with the U.S. They're still grappling with the property debt crisis, low domestic consumption. It's a persistent drag.
And the Fed in the U.S., still likely to cut rates in September?
Still the most likely scenario, yes. But some recent data has maybe introduced a little more uncertainty, a bit more caution, perhaps. And here's a really fascinating trend, maybe hinting at bigger shifts.
No.
Central banks globally, they now hold more gold than U.S. treasuries. First time in 30 years. Gold prices jumped recently, too, amidst all the political uncertainty.
Wow. More gold than treasuries. What does that signal?
It suggests a real reevaluation of reserve assets, diversification, maybe a hedge against global economic and geopolitical instability. It's a quiet move, but it speaks volumes about where countries are placing their trust, potentially shifting away from the traditional reliance on the U.S. dollar and treasuries.
That is fascinating. A clear signal in global finance. All right, and now let's turn to our innovation spotlight. Something truly mind-bending this week. Quantum leaps forward indeed.
Haha, it really is. Scientists in Innsbruck, Austria, they've achieved a major breakthrough towards building what they're calling the Internet of the Future. They've created scalable quantum nodes. Think of them as connection points, capable of linking light and matter using quantum principles.
Okay, break that down a bit. Linking light and matter. How?
So they're using a string of trapped calcium ions, individual atoms, basically, and finely tuned lasers. They use these to generate streams of entangled photons. Remember entanglement? Einstein's spooky action at a distance.
Right, linked two particles, measure one, you instantly know the other's state no matter how far apart.
Exactly. That's the key for ultra-secure communication. And they're generating these entangled photons with an incredible 92% efficiency.
92%. That sounds high for quantum stuff.
It's extremely high. This isn't just theory anymore. It's a foundational, practical step towards quantum computing networks and truly secure communication. Imagine a network based on quantum mechanics. Hacking becomes virtually impossible by design. Could revolutionize finance, security, everything.
So what are the next steps? Is this coming soon?
Well, soon is relative in quantum. The big hurdles are scaling this up, maintaining that entanglement over much longer distances, and figuring out how to integrate it with our existing internet infrastructure. But this breakthrough, it pushes us significantly closer to a real quantum network.
Amazing stuff. So as we navigate this world, contradictory economic data, shifting alliances, central banks choosing gold over treasuries, technology making these quantum leaps. What underlying patterns do you see emerging? Something to think about for the week ahead. We definitely encourage you to keep asking those questions, digging deeper. That's your deep dive for today, keeping you informed and hopefully ahead of the curve. Thanks for tuning into Blip. And just a reminder, please note, this commentary is AI generated. We strongly encourage you to always re-verify any content before use.